don't really look focus more on the Canada, but like right now you can see like the GOP in the US, like how they're like really like gay and like same sex, but like how do you think they could learn from our party in a way for like improvement on the gay like LGBT community?
It's really sad that the Republicans are so backwards on this issue, and GOP proud is no more, but there still is the log cabin Republicans. You have 30,000 members in the state's log cabin Republicans. I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, I'm so disappointed. Every single Republican running for president this year came out against same-sex marriage. I mean, it's time for them to put it, and they're going to have trouble winning because, as I keep on telling my other conservative friends, it's not gay people. Gay people are 2 to 3% of the population. It's the friends and family of gay people who get upset when they see the anti-gay rhetoric coming from Republicans, and that's why they need to change that. There's a lot of people. My sister was never for gay rights, but once I came out, now it's all she sees is gay rights, and so I hope the Republicans learn a lesson at some point.
Do you think there's any hope that at some point that the left won't see the conservatives as homophobic? I don't see an end to it, frankly.
It depends which left. You've got, so I divide the left into two. There's the horrible left, the postmodern, horrible left that really distorts discussion on the left, who will never see us as friends to gay people. And then you've got what I call the decent left, like my friend Terry Glavin and others on the left who actually can see what's going on with a clear eye in conservative movements. I mean, look what's happening in England. I mean, David Cameron is a huge friend of gay people. So I think decent leftists will see it. The ridiculous left, the horrible left, there's nothing we could do to change them.
It's a bit to go on that question too. Like, how would you reply to like a left that says that like conservative are only changing our stance on the issue? It's for a reason to gain more votes, like just to feel
good. What's wrong with gaining votes? That's the whole point of it. I mean, people say, oh my God, the conservatives are only supporting Israel, they want votes. Good, what's wrong with it? That's the whole purpose of a political party, is to get votes. There is nothing wrong with trying to get votes. What do you expect, not to get votes? I mean, I don't understand that. This drives me crazy when people say, yes, isn't that good?
But like, sure, it's fine, but like they just don't feel like we're genuine. Like Patrick Brown at the PC convention, he came in support of it. It's like everyone's welcoming the party. But after that, like there's so many people like backlash, like oh he's not genuine, he's just doing this. Like him doing March in Pride, like when he marched in Pride, like the media didn't cover it at all. Then like Trudeau announced that he's marching in Pride. It's like all over the news. It's breaking news for CBC. But like when conservatives do it, like it's always like backlash. Like when we did in Ottawa, like we got like so much backlash. Like in a way, like if it would have been like a different group walking for the first time, it would have been like applaud to them. Like
you're going to get that backlash. I mean, look, I laughed at the backlash in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Remember, they complained LGBT Tory. They complained that why do you have LGBT Tory? You're the T. You should be transsexual. You're horrible. And then and I did some research, and a lot of groups. There's LGBT Teach, there's LGBT Talk, which is a gay helpline in China and the Netherlands. There's LGBT TED. There's LGBT Tech, which is a group in Silicon Valley for technology. What people on the left, they're always going to. We have to do what's right, and as conservatives, and the right thing is to support gay people and listen to what gay people want in terms like anybody else, and not worry so much about what the left says. Do what's right. Yes.
So you talked about a lot of the problems that were faced by the homosexual community and stuff like that in the past, but what sort of hurdles are they going to be faced by political parties in the Conservative Party in the future?
I don't know if you know Andrew Sullivan, but Andrew Sullivan was a very famous gay conservative, and back in, he wrote a book called Perfectly Normal, and all he wanted was, I want an anti-discrimination law against gay people and same-sex marriage. Once we have that, we're done. There's nothing else we want that gives us all our rights. It's up to us. And I tell this to gay people, I said, we're done. The gay project is over. There's no more rights for us to get. We have all the rights we can ever want. It's up to us to achieve and do and live our lives. And in fact, when you see this, there's no reason for gay groups to, I mean, the gay groups are now disappearing in terms of the gay village in Toronto is disappearing. Gay people, it's normal. You can live wherever you want. You don't have to be in a ghetto. Gay culture is disappearing because it's just part of everything. So there's nothing left. There's nothing left to fight for. We have all the rights we could ever want. It's over.
What do you think about accepting refugees or continuing to accept refugees or more based on sexual orientation?
We should. It's good. I mean, look, you know, that's the only fight left for gay people is to help our brothers and sisters internationally. I gotta say, ISIS is throwing gay people off the roofs. Iran is hanging gay people. There's no gay rights in the Muslim world. Uganda, you know, is the death penalty. I mean, that's where, you know, gay pride. Stop the dancing, stop the partying, and let's go talk about raising money to help our brothers and sisters internationally. You know, I said it's obscene. We have people marching down Yonge Street in assless chaps while people are being thrown off buildings in ISIS. Stop the partying, a little less partying, and let's do the political work that remains in helping our brothers and sisters. That's what's really obscene right now. Yes.
I read an article not too long ago, and it was written by, I don't know what their political affiliation was, but a gay man of some sort, and he said he was almost regretting the movement that he'd been working on for so long because it was killing gay culture as it was, right? It was the idea that, oh, we had all this fantastic stuff, and gay pride was such a great thing for gays, but now everyone's into it, and it's not really gay culture anymore, and what's left is kind of slowly dying, and it's not really gay culture anymore, so they were kind of regretting it. I was wondering what your thought on that.
Well, if you remember, if you go back to when segregation in the States for blacks, so I'll take baseball as an example.
Yeah.
So you had the Negro baseball leagues, a completely separate baseball league, you know, because blacks couldn't join the Major League Baseball. So that meant that blacks had to have their own baseball clubs, their own managers, their own concessions, their own stadiums, all the stuff that goes around baseball. They had to do it themselves, and there was a black culture around that baseball. Once blacks became integrated into Major League Baseball, that all went away because they were part of the mainstream now. And that's the same thing that's happening to gay people. When you have no rights and you can only live in a ghetto, that leads to a lot of culture, a lot of institutions, a lot of things. Once you get your rights, once you get acceptance and you can move into the general population, that's what's happening now, gay culture is going away. Just a natural progression of being integrated into general society and being accepted. And so yes, it was kind of sad that we don't have as much as we had, but I'm happy that we're now accepted and we could go on and live our lives. It's an amazing thing to see how fast Canada has moved, from outright criminalization in '69 to complete acceptance today.
Well, do you know what was the punishment like and before?
Well,
besides
there was that case of this guy from the Northwest Territories. So in 1967, he was found. There was some sort of his house was broken into, and they were investigating a crime, and the RCMP discovered that he was a homosexual, and so they charged him as a criminal psychopath, and went to prison, and that's what led Trudeau to changing the laws. And he served around 10 years in prison.
Any public servants lost their jobs back then too, or get demoted or prevented from
But
advancing?
what led to the change was this guy Owen Clifford, who went to prison in Northwest Territories just for completely for having sex with adults.
So I just have another question. It's a lot that's just think about it.
The other thing that's really interesting is people, during the struggle for gay rights, I should have brought it with me, but if you go to the old body politic, there was a time when the NDP did not support gay rights. In Ontario, the gay community was after the NDP was the opposition to support a motion to include sexual orientation in the Ontario Human Rights Code, and they wouldn't do it. They were against it. And I can give you the headline in the body politic back in the early 70s was NDP means no damn principles. And so it wasn't like, you know, everybody on the left, you know, embraced gay rights and it was all these stupid conservatives. There was a lot of reticence across society in accepting gay rights. I'll tell you another funny story. When I was part of the anti-nuclear thing, I was working in New York City, and we were going to anti-nuclear rallies, and I was with an older gay man who was talking about stuff. He said, you know, what's really interesting, when you go to an anti-nuclear rally, they might have 20 speakers during the day. You know, a women's speaker, a labor speaker, all these speakers from different communities. He said, you know what they do? The last speaker on the list is the gay speaker. And when it comes to the last person, you know, oops, you know what, we're running out of time. We have no time for the gay speaker. He said that would happen all the time at nuclear rallies. And when I was doing my research for the book, I was looking through back copies of the Body Politic, and there was a little thing in one issue during the early 80s in the anti-nuclear rallies in Toronto, and there was one rally where they talked about all the struggles that it was important to support, and they left out gay rights. And there was a huge backlash. Why couldn't you talk about gay rights? And I said, it's very, you know, this is the way it was on the left. It was, there were a lot of people who weren't that friendly on the left.
Now, in all the kind of, let's call them adventures for whatever, that you kind of went through, were there any you didn't mention that were maybe like just a really odd, like, I mean, any of us who've gone canvassing in that last election got a really bad response somewhere, someone calling us crazy xenophobic fascists or something, you get it at a door, but was there any in particular event, maybe just a random one on the streets or something, where someone maybe knows who you are, you've said who you are, and then they just crazy reaction of you being a gay conservative, just absolutely out there?
Nothing like that. It was just a continual stream of friends.
Right. Okay.
They were just, you know, always like, oh, explain to me, how is it? How can you, how? I understand you're gay, but how can you be conservative? And the same people would also say the same thing about people of color. How can people of color be conservative? You know, and so it's just it's this identity politics where they really believe that you all have to be on the left, and if you're not on the left, there's something abnormal and wrong with you. And it was very, very, very frustrating because you know, my friends in the music industry, my God, I mean, they just went ballistic. I mean, they just, they just can't fathom it.
Right.
Why
Yes.
do you think so many gay people are drawn to the anti-Israeli rhetoric?
I don't think they are. I think that you know, it's just there's certain leaders who are, because the leadership is all this crazy lefty crap. So that's why it all happens. And so the people who run Gay Pride and the newspaper, they're all postmodern crazy lefties, and so they're drawn to the anti-Israel stuff. I think the rank and file couldn't care less. But that's what ruins Gay Pride for so many people, is that you have these idiots who are intent. And now, fortunately, they've disbanded. Queers Against Israeli Apartheid are no longer there. I think largely because there was a little bit of a backlash among the rank and file that said, this is not our fight. This is not what we're about. I asked the same question about unions. Why are all the union leaders so anti-Israel? I don't think the rank and file is as anti-Israel, but we need to, I mean, why CUP W, Canadian Union Postal Workers, why are they so anti-Israel? My joke used to be, are they upset about mail delivery in Gaza? You know, I'm sure the rank and file isn't that horrible. We need, this is what we need in the gay community, or the unions. Rank and file needs to rise up and say, you know, no more of this crap. No more of this leftist idiocy.
So just a side note on that too is like, it's funny that you mentioned that, because the first World Pride was in Israel, and there were like a lot of people who were like mad that it was like held in Israel, and there were like a lot of attacks happening there as well. But I also have a question, is like, so like, how do you think that we can like construct our message to attract more like LGBT members, like to like both parts? Because I know there's a lot of us like who are like conservative in general, like marching in Pride. I like people approaching us. It was like, thank you for finally being here. Like I'm gay and like I'm conservative, but like I never say it to people because like how do you think that we can change that? Like,
Look, most gay people are like everybody else. They're concerned about taxes, they're concerned about jobs, they're concerned about all the same issues that everybody else. So you just have to, I think we're well on the way. Just no anti-gay rhetoric, and just talk about the issues that are important. We're all the same. And I got that continually. Even back in 2005, there was a debate. In 2005, I was helping Keith Fountain, who ran in Ottawa Centre for the Conservatives. So I took him to gay bars. Keith was a supporter of same-sex marriage. We went to gay bars, and people wanted to talk about taxation. They wanted to talk about jobs. They wanted to talk about corruption, and they were extremely friendly. In fact, Keith just loved it. We had a great time going to gay bars. And that's why I think I told Diane Finlay, the Conservatives, look, you guys have to be out there. Just show you care, and everything will come around naturally. Yes?
I have quite a few friends on the left that are especially angry about the trans rights bill that failed to pass in the last session. I believe it was the Senate that was what held it up. So how do you think, as conservatives in general, kind of going off what Chris was saying, constructing our message so it's not the whole party is against this bill, because that wasn't the case. There was a lot of even high-profile cabinet ministers that.
Well, I'm going to say something here that's politically very incorrect. I'm not sure I support the trans rights bill. We have a problem. First off, I'm not so sure the transsexual rights or trans rights are my fight. I'm fighting for gay rights. This is a very, very different topic. And what's happening in the States right now, what makes me uneasy is I don't want to deny anybody their rights. I don't want to discriminate against anybody. But you've got some trans activists who are so intent on talking about bathrooms. And I have some giddiness myself in talking about some of this. And I want to separate this issue until the trans community can really figure this out properly on bathrooms and locker rooms and how to deal with this. I want to step back a bit, and because I'm a little bit uneasy about some of this myself.
Sorry, do you mind just shedding some light on what this bill was?
I'm not
Well, it's just to add transsexual people, transgendered people to the list of protected groups under the charter. But what you have in the States is you have a debate in many locales about trans rights. But you have trans activists who are saying, well, if I'm 15 and I'm male, I identify as a female, then I should go and change in the women's locker room. Well, I'm a little uneasy about that, and there's some real questions we have to I think we have to get sorted out before we can really move there.
Something that's been interesting to me a lot lately is back with the kind of the U.S. election kind of thing is that Ted Cruz was one of and Mike Huckabee were pretty much the two that gave us distinct answer on what their beliefs of LGBT rights of any kind were, because what if you were invited to a gay wedding? Well, and Jeb Bush is like, well, I wouldn't go to the ceremony, but I'd go to the dinner. And it's like, and then there's someone who's like John Kasich, and he says, I don't personally support it, but it's the law of the land, so let's leave it alone and move on. There's more important things to worry about. But then you look at some of the states like in Indiana and in is it Alabama or Georgia? I think it's Georgia right now, who are putting in, who are removing protection of the rights of gay people. And all these businesses are coming out in favor, or being like, oh, you do that and we're going to pull out, right? Like the NCAA, the Collegiate Athletic Association, has basically told Indiana that we will move our headquarters and we will not host anything here ever again. And a lot of businesses kind of came in on that and they kind of backed off. And I've always found it really interesting that of the two big groups that the Republicans are famous to cater for are the religious and big business. But when it splits off, they seem to be avoiding big business now and sticking with a group that is increasingly becoming less and less, slowly but perhaps, but it's just kind of, what's your kind of thought on the whole fact that the Republicans can't seem to choose what they believe, and it varies so heavily, and then...
I went to the Conservative Political Action Conference last year in Washington, D.C. It's the big political gathering once a year in Washington, and I listened to every single presidential candidate, every single one get up there and say they were against same-sex marriage, every single one. And it was very, very disappointing that not one candidate would say anything nice about gay people. You know, somebody that's welcome to the family, nobody would say anything nice, and I thought, it's just very, very sad, and they're late to the game on this. They don't really understand it. They pander to their so-called base, and they don't realize that America has moved on. Most people have just moved on, and it's going to hurt them for years, until they start to change.
Right.
So do you think then that, like, just like you said, that the gay community, the leadership of it in this country is run by the horrible left? Do you think that even like the Republican leadership / the conservative leadership in general in the United States would be run by the equivalent of that on the right?
They're run. And they're changing too, even in the States as we speak. But I was at, back when GOP Proud, that fundraiser in Homocon with Ann Coulter, they were a sponsor that year of CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference. They were a sponsor, and that was very controversial. And the next year, they decided we'll throw out GOP Proud. They weren't allowed back, and that was again, how could you not allow a gay conservative group? Finally, this year, they've allowed the log cabin Republicans into the conference. So there is a little bit of movement. I think it's going to take some young Republican to get up there and say, you know what, I got gay friends, I got a gay family, no big deal, let's move on. We have more important issues now. Let's settle the same-sex marriage. Let's talk about taxes, and let's talk about foreign policy and everything else. And now, and I'm sure everybody would be okay with it.
It's a bit like going off what they said as well about the Republican. Like, what do you think? Do you think there's eventually going to be a way for like the moderate Republican? There's a lot of them. Like there's Senator Susan Collins from Maine, who got elected, and she supported the marriage equality. Do you think it's going to be eventually a place for those people to have a voice within the party, or like the media to talk about those people? Because I think in a way it's also because the media doesn't talk about the Republican who are like in favor of it. Like,
as we speak, it's changing, and it's going to change. They're there. I mean, again, look, if you do the surveys of young Republicans, most young Republicans support same-sex marriage. It's not an issue, and so there's a generational change that's going to change everything, and it won't take long.
The Conservative Party in Canada is, of course, a big tent party and ostensibly a grassroots party as well. If you've seen any of the policy movements that are going to be on the convention floor, it's going to be a contentious debate. How does the gay rights movement reconcile the different ideological strands within the Conservative Party? Because there is a fundamental ideological divide. On substantive policy, the Conservative Party has been consistent in favor of gay rights, but there is a grassroots movement which will perhaps never accept that.
There is part of that conservative base that will never accept same-sex marriage, but I think Stephen Harper basically marginalized that part of the base. He wouldn't talk about abortion and a whole variety of social issues that Harper would not talk about, and so that part of the base is there, and it's all, again, Canadians we know where Canadians stand, and so if the party wants to commit suicide, they'll listen to that part of the base, but I don't think they will. And I think that most of it has moved on from this. There's a few people who, maybe Real Women of Canada, even amongst conservative organizations. Canadian Taxpayers Federation, I give you a whole list, they just don't care anymore. Let's move on. Maybe Real Women of Canada are the only group that, will never change. But it's just not where conservatives have moved on. Thank God.
I think we have time for one more question. That is good. Well, thank you so much, Fred,
Thank you.
for coming tonight and speaking with us.
I've got books, if anybody wants to buy my book, I've got a few books here, and I'll reduce the price from 20 down to 10 if anybody wants to buy a book.